Hey everyone! Welcome back to English Daily Talk, your space for real stories, real emotions, and real English. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Chris. It's really good to have you with us again. If you've been following our C1 series, you know we don't just talk about English, we talk about the emotional side of learning it.
In previous episodes, we talked about things like not trying to be perfect, not comparing yourself to native speakers, and learning to carry the invisible weight of expectations more lightly.
Today, we're going to take that even further. We're going to talk about something that every learner hates, but also desperately needs.
Mistakes.
Yep, those lovely, painful, unforgettable little moments when your brain, your mouth, and the English language are not on the same team.
The title of today's episode is Mistakes Are Your Best Friends.
I know. That sounds totally wrong. Most of us think mistakes are our enemies, our nightmares, or at least something we should avoid at all costs.
But what if mistakes weren't proof that you're bad at English?
What if they were proof that you're actually doing the work?
In this episode, we're going to reframe mistakes as data collection. We'll share some of our own embarrassing language mistakes. We'll laugh together, and then we'll show you how to use your mistakes to grow faster.
We'll finish with a language spotlight, where we unpack some advanced expressions related to learning, failure, and growth, so you can sound more confident and natural when you talk about your own journey.
So, if you can, grab a drink, relax your shoulders, and maybe mentally prepare yourself to revisit a few of your own mistakes.
Because by the end of this episode, we want you to see them differently, not as scars, but as data.
Ready?
Let's start collecting.
Before we ask our listeners to make friends with their mistakes, I feel like we need to be honest and share some of ours.
Oh, absolutely. If we're going to say mistakes are your best friends, we have to introduce our own best friends.
Do you want to start? Or should I?
I'll go first, because mine still makes me cringe. And that's actually a useful verb we'll come back to later. To cringe at something.
I'm already cringing, and I don't even know the story yet.
So, this was years ago. I was in a meeting with colleagues, and English was the common language. I wanted to say something intelligent, something that would make me sound like a serious professional. You know that feeling, right?
Oh, yes. The classic. I will impress everyone with my perfect sentence right now.
Exactly. So I decided to use a word I wasn't completely sure about. I'd read it before, but I wasn't 100% sure how to pronounce it. The word was focus.
Oh no. I can already see where this is going.
Yeah. So I opened my mouth, and in front of 10 people, I confidently said something like, I think we really need to fuck on the customer experience.
No.
Yep. I completely changed the vowel sound. And suddenly I wasn't talking about focus anymore. I basically invited the whole room to do something very different to the customer experience.
I think half of our listeners are laughing and half are dying inside because they've done something similar.
The room went silent for 1 second. Then people started smiling, and then one colleague started laughing. At first, I wanted to disappear. I could feel my face heating up.
That moment when your brain screams, "Can we please go back in time?"
Exactly. But then one colleague, very kindly, said, I think you mean focus. And he repeated it slowly.
So what did you do?
I had two choices. I could pretend nothing happened, or I could own my mistake. So I just laughed and said, yes, sorry, I definitely mean focus, not the other thing. And everyone laughed, and then the meeting continued.
And did you ever forget that word again?
Never. Not once. That mistake was like a tattoo on my brain. After that, every time I saw the word focus, I also remembered how it felt to say it wrong in front of everyone.
That's what you mean by data collection. Right. The mistake gave you really strong data about the correct pronunciation.
Exactly. It was an uncomfortable moment, but also a powerful learning moment. If I had always stayed safe and never tried to use that word, I might still be mispronouncing it in my head.
So, data point number 1. When you mispronounce something in a big, embarrassing way, you almost never make the same mistake again.
Yes, embarrassing, but effective.
Okay, my turn. This story still makes me cringe. 2, but for a different reason. It's not about pronunciation. It's about messaging.
Oh, I love a good texting disaster.
So, when I was learning another language, I had a crush on someone. And of course, I was also very insecure about my language skills. So I often talked to my friend about him and about how nervous I felt speaking in my target language.
Classic situation.
One evening, I was chatting with my friend and I wrote a long message in that language. It was something like, I don't know if my grammar is good enough to talk to him. I feel stupid every time I make a mistake. I'm afraid he will think I'm not intelligent.
Oof, that already hurts a little.
Yeah, it was a very honest, very vulnerable message. And after writing it, I hit send.
To your friend?
Well, that was the plan.
Oh no.
But my brain was tired, and my fingers were faster than my attention. I accidentally sent it, directly to him.
Straight to the crush.
Straight to the crush. The moment I realized, my whole body froze. I checked the screen 3 times, hoping it was a bad dream. But no, his name was right there at the top of the conversation.
So what did you do? Throw your phone out the window.
That was plan A. But I did something even scarier. I waited. I just stared at the screen, watching the typing bubble appear and disappear.
That's the longest 5 seconds of your life.
Completely. Finally, he replied. And he said something like, your grammar is absolutely fine. I think it's brave that you're using another language. Please don't feel stupid. I make mistakes in your language all the time.
Wow, that's actually sweet.
It was. In the end, the mistake of sending the message to the wrong person actually turned into a healthy conversation about insecurity and language. But at the time, I wanted the earth to open and swallow me.
So how did that help your language learning?
First, it forced me to see my fear from the outside. I had literally written all my negative thoughts about myself in one text. Seeing them there, sent to someone else, made me realize how hard I was being on myself.
Right? It's like holding up a mirror to your inner critic.
Exactly. Second, it taught me that people are usually kinder than we expect. He didn't laugh at my mistakes. He respected my effort. And that changed how I felt about speaking. I realized my mistakes looked much bigger from inside my own head than from the outside.
That's huge. So, data point number 2. Other people are usually more focused on the message than on your grammar.
Yes. And honestly, the worst part wasn't the grammar. It was my self-judgment. That moment became strong data that my fear was exaggerating reality.
I like that. Sometimes a mistake doesn't just give you linguistic data, it gives you emotional data. Information about what's really happening versus what your anxiety is telling you.
Exactly. And that's incredibly valuable for learners at a high level, like many of our listeners.
Okay, I've got another one. This time it's about using advanced vocabulary too confidently.
The dangerous combination. A new word and a lot of confidence.
I had learned this phrase in English. To hit the ground running, which means to start something and be immediately very active and productive.
Great phrase. By the way, very useful for work and projects.
Yes, but I mixed it up with another expression. So I was in a job interview, and I wanted to say, if you hire me, I can hit the ground running.
Very professional. Very impressive.
That was the plan. But instead, I said, if you hire me, I can hit you on the ground.
No.
Yes, I transformed myself from a motivated employee into a potential attacker. The interviewer's eyebrows went up so fast. There was this tiny pause, and I realized something was very wrong.
What did you do?
I quickly corrected myself. Sorry, hit the ground running, start fast, be productive. And then I literally said, I promise I'm not violent.
At least you had a sense of humor about it.
I had to. And you know what? The interviewer laughed. And then he said, I'm glad you corrected that. And I appreciate the effort you're making in English.
So did you get the job?
I did. And in the feedback later, he actually mentioned that he liked my willingness to keep speaking despite mistakes.
That's such an important point. Many learners think a mistake in a job interview is the end of the world. But sometimes, it's actually an opportunity to show who you are.
Exactly. So, data point number 3. Mistakes can reveal your character in a good way if you respond with honesty and humor.
I love that. Okay, I have one more story, but it's a different kind of mistake. It's a mistake of not doing anything.
Ah, the silent student.
Yes, for a whole semester. When I first joined an advanced conversation class, I barely spoke. I was surrounded by other students who I thought were better than me, more fluent, more confident, more intelligent.
I think a lot of our listeners will relate to that.
I spent the whole semester trying to be perfect in my head before I opened my mouth. I would think of a sentence, check it 3 times mentally, adjust the grammar, try to find a more advanced word, and by the time I was ready, the conversation had already moved on.
I know that feeling too well.
At the end of the course, my teacher gave individual feedback. She said, "Your writing is strong, but I have almost no data about your speaking." That word, data, stayed with me.
No data.
Exactly. I had been so focused on not making mistakes that I had accidentally given my teacher and myself 0 information about my real speaking level. No errors, but also no evidence of progress.
So what did you learn from that?
I realized that silence is not the same as success. It feels safe, but it doesn't generate data. It doesn't give your brain anything to analyze or improve.
That's powerful. So, data point number 4. If you never make mistakes, you also never collect data.
Yes. And at the next course, I made a decision. I would speak more, even if my sentences weren't perfect. And surprise. Surprise! My teacher suddenly had a lot of data to work with. She could correct me, guide me, and help me grow.
I love that. It's like you move from trying to protect your ego to trying to collect information.
Exactly. And that is the mindset shift we want our listeners to make.
Let's slow down for a moment and talk directly to you. Yes, you, listening right now. Think about the last mistake you made in English.
Maybe it was a grammar mistake in a message. Maybe it was the wrong tense in a meeting. Maybe you mispronounced a word in front of your class, or you froze and went silent, and later you thought of the perfect sentence in the shower.
What did you say to yourself afterwards?
Be honest. Did you think, I'm so stupid? My English is terrible. I will never sound fluent. Did you replay the moment again and again in your head?
Most of us do. Our brains exaggerate the size of the mistake. We think other people are still thinking about it hours, days, or even weeks later.
But here's the truth. Other people usually don't remember your mistake. They're busy with their own lives, their own emails, their own worries.
The only person still watching that movie in your head is you.
And that gives you a choice. You can watch that movie as a horror film, where your mistake is a monster that proves you're not good enough.
Or you can watch it as a documentary that gives you useful information. A film that says, look, here's the point where your brain wasn't ready. Here's where you need more practice.
That is what we mean when we say mistakes are data. Each mistake is a message about what your brain can or can't do automatically yet.
Let's use a simple example. Imagine you keep saying, he go to work every day, instead of he goes to work every day.
You don't need to repeat, I'm stupid 10 times. You just need to read the data. The data says, the third person S is not automatic yet. it still needs conscious attention.
The mistake is not a moral judgment. It doesn't say anything about your value as a person. It just says, this structure is not fully installed.
And once you see it like that, you can decide what to do with the data. Maybe you write 3 or 4 example sentences using he goes, she goes, it goes. Read them out loud. Or pay extra attention to that structure in the next conversation.
Without the mistake, you wouldn't know where the problem is. You might waste time reviewing things you're already good at.
Mistakes help you target your learning.
Here's another angle. Think of yourself as a scientist. Your life is the laboratory. Every day you run little experiments with English.
You try a new phrase. You attempt a new tense. You test a new collocation you heard in a podcast.
Sometimes the experiment works beautifully. You say the sentence. The other person understands. And you feel like a genius.
Sometimes the experiment explodes in your face. You say something. They look confused. Or they laugh. Or they correct you.
In science, when an experiment fails, scientists don't say, I'm stupid. I will never understand chemistry. They say, interesting. The result is different from what I expected. Let's analyze why.
They write down what happened. They adjust the variables. Then they try again.
What if you treated your English that way?
What if, instead of thinking, I failed, you thought, I collected data.
It doesn't mean the experience isn't uncomfortable. It just means the discomfort has a purpose.
There's another important point. At a C1 level, your biggest enemy is not grammar or vocabulary. It's fear.
Fear of sounding less intelligent than you really are. Fear of losing status. Fear of people judging you.
Fear makes you play small. It tells you to stay quiet, to delete that comment, to cancel that call.
But growth only happens when you act. And action always comes with risk. Risk of confusion. Risk of awkwardness. Risk of making a mistake.
So, in a way, mistakes are proof that you're moving. They show that you're stepping outside your comfort zone.
You can't collect data if you never run experiments. You can't run experiments if you never act. And you can't act without exposing yourself to mistakes.
So, the question changes from, how can I avoid mistakes? To, how can I use my mistakes better?
Exactly. Let's give you some practical ideas.
First idea, keep a mistake journal. It doesn't have to be a big, serious thing. Just a small notebook or a note on your phone.
After a conversation, a meeting, or a class, write down 1 or 2 mistakes you remember. For example, I said I am agree instead of I agree. Then write the corrected version.
That's it. You don't need to write a grammar essay. Just a small list of your personal data points.
Over time, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe you always forget articles. Maybe you confuse since and for. Maybe you struggle with prepositions after certain verbs.
Those patterns are gold. They tell you exactly where to focus your attention.
Second idea, reframe corrections as gifts, not attacks.
When someone corrects you, especially in public, it can feel like criticism. Your ego wants to defend itself. But what if you saw each correction as free feedback from the universe?
It's like someone is giving you secret information about how the language really works in the real world. So,
You don't have to enjoy the feeling, but you can appreciate the value.
third idea, celebrate brave mistakes. When you use a new phrase, a complex tense, or a sophisticated structure, and you get it wrong, that's a brave mistake. It shows you're stretching.
That's very different from careless mistakes, where you know the rule but you're not paying attention. Both types give you data, but brave mistakes are a sign of growth.
If you can, try this. At the end of the week, ask yourself, what brave mistakes did I make? If you can't think of any, maybe you're playing too safe.
And safe doesn't usually lead to C1 level growth.
Exactly.
Now, let's move into our language spotlight. we're going to look at some C1 level expressions you can use to talk about mistakes, learning, and growth.
These will help you describe your experience in a more precise and natural way. Remember, the goal is not just to survive in English, it's to express your inner world clearly.
Expression number 1, trial and error.
Trial and error describes a process where you try different things, make mistakes, learn from them, and gradually succeed. It's how children learn to walk, how we learn to cook, and how we learn languages.
For example, my speaking practice is basically trial and error. I use a structure, see how people react, and adjust next time.
Or, you can't avoid trial and error when you're learning to use phrasal verbs. You just have to jump in and see what works.
Expression number 2, a steep learning curve.
A steep learning curve describes something that is difficult at the beginning because there is a lot to learn in a short time.
For example, moving to an English-speaking country gave me a steep learning curve, but my listening improved very quickly.
Or, using English at work every day had a steep learning curve at first, but now it feels natural.
Notice the emotional message. When you say a steep learning curve, you're not just saying, this is hard. You're saying, this is hard, but it's worth it and I am climbing.
Expression number 3, to cringe at something.
To cringe means to physically or emotionally react with discomfort when you see or remember something embarrassing or awkward.
For example, I still cringe when I remember the email where I used the wrong title for my manager.
Or, when I listen to my old voice messages in English, I cringe at my pronunciation, but I can also see how much I've improved.
Cringing is a sign that you care and that you've grown.
Expression number 4, to own your mistake.
To own your mistake means to take responsibility for it openly, without running away or blaming others.
For example, in the meeting, I used the wrong word, but I owned my mistake and corrected myself.
Or, when you own your mistakes, people usually trust you more, not less.
Owning your mistakes is part of emotional maturity. It shows confidence and honesty.
Expression number 5, to reframe something.
To reframe means to change the way you look at something, to give it a different meaning or perspective.
For example, I'm trying to reframe my mistakes as information instead of proof that I'm bad at English.
Or, once I reframed feedback as a gift, it became much easier to accept corrections.
Reframing doesn't change what happened, but it changes what the event means to you.
Expression number 6, to turn something on its head.
This means to completely change the usual way of thinking about something.
For example, this episode is trying to turn the idea of mistakes on its head. Instead of seeing them as enemies, we're seeing them as our best friends.
Or, that teacher turned my idea of fluency on its head. Instead of focusing on perfect grammar, he focused on connection.
Expression number 7, to fall short.
To fall short means not to reach a goal or expectation, to not be as good as you hoped.
For example, I fell short of my goal to speak only English this week, but I still practiced more than usual.
Or, even when you fall short, you collect valuable experience.
Expression number 8, to recommit.
To recommit means to decide again to follow a goal or a promise, especially after you've failed or stopped.
For example, I made lots of mistakes today, but instead of giving up, I'm going to recommit to practicing tomorrow.
Or, every time you recommit, you strengthen your long-term progress.
Notice how these words let you describe your journey in a more nuanced way. You can say things like, learning English has been a process of trial and error. Sometimes I cringe at my old mistakes, but I try to reframe them as data. Even when I fall short of my goals, I recommit and keep going. It's a steep learning curve, but I'm owning my mistakes and turning my old fear on its head.
That sentence alone shows a C1 level ability to talk about your inner experience. Bobin.
And remember, you don't need to use all of these expressions at once. Choose one or two that you like and try to use them this week when you talk about your learning.
As we come to the end of this episode, let's circle back to our main message. Mistakes are not proof that you're bad at English. They're proof that you're doing the work.
They're not your enemies. They're your data. They're your teachers. They're your slightly annoying, sometimes embarrassing, but very loyal best friends.
So this week, we want to give you a small challenge.
Challenge number 1. Make at least 3 brave mistakes. That means try 3 things in English that feel a little bit scary.
Maybe you speak up in a meeting when you usually stay silent. Maybe you leave a voice message in English for a friend. Maybe you write a comment in English under a YouTube video or a podcast. Shisha.
Don't wait until the sentence is perfect in your head. Just act. Speak. Write. Send.
And if you make a mistake, which you probably will, pause and say to yourself, this is data. I'm collecting data.
Challenge number 2. Start a small data notebook. After a conversation or a brave moment, write down 1 or 2 things. A phrase you tried, a mistake you made, or a correction you received.
Then write the correct version next to it. That's it. It doesn't need to be beautiful. It just needs to be real.
Over time, that notebook will become a map of your growth. Each page will show you where you've been and how far you've come.
And challenge number 3. Be kind to yourself in the way you talk about your mistakes.
When you catch yourself saying, I'm so stupid, or my English is terrible, stop and reframe. Try something like, I'm still learning. This is part of the process. This is my latest data point.
It might feel strange at first, but your inner voice matters. The way you talk to yourself shapes how brave you are in the next conversation.
We want you to become the kind of learner who doesn't hide from mistakes, but meets them, studies them, and then moves forward with more information.
Remember our stories from the beginning. The mispronounced word in the meeting, the message sent to the wrong person, the dangerous idiom in the job interview, and the silent semester with no data.
All of those moments were uncomfortable, but all of them were turning points.
You will have your own turning points. Some of them will make you laugh. Some will make you cringe. Some might even make you cry a little.
But if you stay with them, if you own them and learn from them, they will make you stronger.
So, the next time you make a mistake in English, try to smile just a tiny bit and say, "Hi, my friend. What are you here to teach me?"
And then listen, because every mistake has a message.
Thank you for spending this time with us today. We know your life is busy, and the fact that you choose to listen, reflect, and keep growing means a lot.
If this episode helped you feel a little less afraid of mistakes, we'd love it if you shared it with someone who also needs that reminder.
And if you feel brave, you can even tell us about one of your best friend mistakes, the ones that taught you the most.
Until next time, keep collecting data, keep speaking up, and keep walking your steep learning curve with courage.
This was English Daily Talk, C1 series, episode 13. Mistakes are your best friends.
Take care, speak imperfectly, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.